30 points will keep you safe. Mathematically speaking, 30 points this season would have kept you safe.
They wouldn't be safe. No, if Fulham had 30 points, they wouldn't be safe.
Yeah, because they're the team in the relegation.
Exactly. That's
the amount of points needed to be safe is set by the relegation. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Footy Forum. Phase 3 is up and running. We obviously dropped our first episode for the Female Footy Forum TF3. Alex, did you enjoy doing that?
That was so much fun. For those of you that have watched it, you'll see that sometimes my brain is working faster than my mouth. I was so excited and I'm tripping over my words, but yeah, it was really awesome, and you can see the potential there for that kind of expansion, the TF3 phase 3 stuff. So I'm very excited for all the guests that we're going to get on and all the stuff we're going to cover, and it just kind of just adds another element so that we can focus on our stuff here, and then we're also, giving the fuller picture and bringing everything to light, so this is Battle Zone, and then yeah, so I think it's gonna be good.
So much more to come on that front, so if you enjoyed that, stay tuned. We've definitely got more guests coming from the UK side as well, but it's only going to get juicier, the topics, as we talk about women's football, and there's plenty more to come. This is the first episode now on the TFF side, the debate episode, and we've got some cool plans for this summer, so make sure you stay tuned. The video content we're producing will be diversified, and if you are watching this now, you're part of the most inclusive football community out there, 100%. We're working on something soon to get some of you followers, some people listening, a chance to come on the show and take on guests directly one-on-one in the No Name Football game, so that's really exciting. There is so much more to come, so make sure you follow us on Instagram, TFF Media. Make sure you follow us on TikTok. Please hit the subscribe button. If you're on audio, hit follow. If you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review. All these things are really important to us, and that's why we try and echo them at the beginning of the episode. Without further ado, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk a bit about looking back at our Premier League predictions. Me and Jovan did it 8 games in. Dan did it 15 games in? Would you say something like that?
It's hot. It was January. It must have been late December, so it was probably halfway through. Yeah,
halfway. Okay. Then we're just gonna have some fact or retract questions, get some debates going, get our brains working, and then we're just gonna have a brief look at the 33-man squad Southgate named a couple days ago. So I did promise Jovan I'd come to him first. Floor's yours, Jovan.
Yeah. So basically, in terms of this episode, when we started the channel, I think one of the first episodes we ever did was to kind of preface the league and where it was at the time. 8 games in, you said, we predicted the Premier League table, which, to be fair, I'm not sure if many of us did before. And I just want to say, when I was looking at and kind of reflecting on the results, the one most sad thing for me was that I have the same points as you. So we finished in the same thing, because I know your football knowledge, I don't think it's that really good. You think more with your emotions, and you don't really see things logically. And the fact that I was in the same thinking as you, the same result as you, is absolutely devastating for me. So it's basically a reflection. I'm going to hold my hands up like this, that I really got something wrong, because it doesn't matter about the result. The fact that we're in the same way of thinking and the same results. After you talked a lot, you did talk a lot, I must say, as well in that episode. Go check that episode out and just think from the lens of myself, who's someone who doesn't want to talk too much, is just focus on the facts, and that's a really good episode just to think Morgan's shocking, and I'm also shocking, I guess, for being the same way. I just want to preface this episode by saying, not a great result for me. We both finished with plus 56 points, I think, so it's not good. But let me throw it off to Dan. Dan, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm not sure how I feel about that intro. I think I'm assuming. I think it was I'm excited for all of us four to predict at the start of this season on an equal playing field, because obviously I did have
gonna be fun.
half a season to look through it and sort of analyse. So mine's probably was always going to be a little bit more sort of closer to what it ended up being. But still, I think there's some interesting things to discuss in terms of where I put certain teams. Mainly Arsenal being 5th, but there we go.
Alex, you right?
You knew that wasn't right.
Yeah, I mean, true.
Yeah, I'm good. I feel like this episode needs, like a special little intro. So just to kind of give everyone the heads up on, I think, how this is going to go. This is seeming like it's going to be a WWE Sunday SmackDown with Jovan in the red corner and Morgan in the blue corner.
I'm going to have to stop you there.
He's thinking emotionally. He's not thinking rationally.
Right, hold on a second. Alex Daniel, you're a witness, right? Did I interrupt him when he spoke? Did I not respectfully let him continually abuse me? You know what you should do, Jovan? Start a side podcast where you just abuse me. Just do that. Just start a side podcast where you just can.
Why would I start that when we'll just do it on this podcast? No, you know how much work it is to make podcasts. I learned.
Oh, believe me, I know. Believe me, I know. Yeah, I'm the one that does the editing. But this is what pisses me off. I'm not here to defend myself because I was just as shambles as Jovan, so I'm not here to defend. But for Jovan to come out and abuse me like that. And he says, "Oh, I'm disappointed in myself." I'll tell you exactly where he went wrong. So we'll pop it up on the screen for you now, so you can see the tables. But Jovan put Man United 10th. He put Sheffield United 13th. So and Southampton 9th. So just to start off with there, that's probably where you've gone equally as wrong as me. So I'm basically saying, exactly. I might have thrown myself under the bus, but I'm dragging you down with me.
So you put Man United 9th, which is one away.
But if I made these predictions with my emotions, then what did you use?
I got some wrong answers. Some wrong. In theory, I mean,
because whatever you used last night to get up this morning, that didn't work.
I don't know if that's emotions or whatever that is, but. If we're looking at the actual facts and what we're focusing on, I mean, you say all this stuff. However, you put Sheffield United 15th, so 2 away from where I put. At the end of the day, you got the relegation battle completely wrong. You got the relegation zone, I should say, completely wrong. One thing we did do right, and let's kind of flip this on a more positive note, is that I predicted Man City to win the league. They did, which was kind of like at that time is like
well, 3 of us
hard
did.
To say. Chelsea in the top 4, which again.
Yeah, let's stay here for a minute. Daniel Stevenson, you put Chelsea in 9th place. Here is your chance. The floor's yours. Defend this decision.
No, because I can't. I know you said before we recorded that we have to stick, but that's just impossible to stick with. Like, all I can say to defend at the time, Frank Lampard was still in charge, and they really didn't look like, they just did not look like a team that could even even challenge for that top 4. So I think if we're looking in context of when I actually made the prediction, I think it was quite a fair and reasonable prediction to make with Frank Lampard. I still think I stick to I think if Frank Lampard, they'd left him in charge till the end of the season, I feel like they would probably have finished 9th, 8th, maybe around the area. But obviously now,
here's the question for you: Man United. We saw me and Jovan put them. I mean, there's not much to the reasoning for Man United is the same as you. Like, they really didn't look like a strong side, and they just picked up their form. But at the time you'd done it, Man United had climbed from mid-table to a top 4 contender. Did you not see the same happening for Chelsea?
Not really. I just didn't see that at the time.
Was coming?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying irrelevant of manager change, whether Lampard stayed or left. As a squad, as a team, as a big club like Chelsea, you just could maybe see a turn or an upturn in form. Could you not predict that?
Not while Frank Lampard was still in charge. There's just no way he'd lost it by at that point. It was just all going. It wasn't necessarily all going downhill, but there just wasn't enough. Like Tuchel's just a way better coach, and that is just pure facts. Tuchel is a manager that can take a team in 9th place with not really a chance of, I don't think, fighting for the top 4, and he's clearly improved that team, and he hasn't even had a transfer window. So it's just clearly based on the fact that he is just simply a better coach than Frank Lampard was, and for that reason he's taken them to where they ended up finishing, which was 4th. But at the time Frank Lampard was in charge, there was no way I could see him taking that massive step to finish in 4th where they did, or even higher than sort of 8th or 9th.
Yep, definitely. Well, I think now we've looked at the table. Let's jump to some debate topics. Let's get Alex involved. Let's get going. So, facts or retracts? That's where we're going now. So, gonna give you, as normal, a statement. That's the word. And you're going to basically tell me whether you think that's facts or whether you'd retract that statement because you disagree. So, the first one I'm going to give you. Leicester City had a successful season, winning the FA Cup, finishing in 5th, obviously dropping out the top 4 on the final day after being in the top 4 for a lot longer than any other team, not even close. Even the champions Man City, about 100 or so days City were in the top 4. Leicester, over 250, if I remember correctly, days in the top 4. That's a long time to then not finish in the top 4. However, they got silverware. They won the FA Cup. You could see the emotion on the owners, all the players' faces. It's a big moment for the club. Alex, coming to you first. Credit where credit's due, because I did put Leicester 5th at the beginning of the season, but even towards the end of the season, when we debated it, all of us said facts, they're finishing top 4. Mm-hmm. Alex said that. No, and here we are. So, Alex, you're up first.
Yeah, so they are one of those tricky teams. Like, you look on paper, yeah, they were in the top 4, they won an FA Cup. Like, they're having all these things where you can kind of have confidence in them, but I don't know, like, just watching them, I just didn't feel like they were a finishing club. Like, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because, like, I'm not the hugest Jamie Vardy fan, and maybe that has something to do with it. And I know that's a controversial thing to say, that is. But I don't know, he just kind of bugs me. Like,
is that more to do with his personality, though? Or
yes,
is that
I feel like I don't know him, and I can't claim to say that how you are on the pitch is how you are in real life, but I just kind of feel like sometimes he's a bit whiny.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I just kind of like, things don't go his way and you see his face and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's a few like that, and I don't know what it is, but he just kind of annoys me. And maybe I'm just expecting more from him because there's so much hype. Like, I'm just expecting him to, like, rally the troops a bit more, but who knows, whatever.
Direct question. Was Leicester's season a success?
No. I don't think so.
No. Because they had to finish top 4.
No, I think because they had it for so long, and then they lost the concentration right at the end. Like, that is, for me, like, when I've been with teams, when I've been coaching with teams, like, it doesn't matter if you play great for 85 minutes if you let them score 3 goals in the last 5 minutes. Like, that's how I feel. And I don't know. I don't think they had I feel like, yeah, they were in the top 4 for 250 games or whatever you said. They won the FA Cup, but I feel like at the end of the day, like, if you're wanting to be a top Premier League club, like, dropping that quick, that fast at the end of the season is just not good enough. But maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know. I feel like you say, yay, we got the FA Cup as, like, a consolation to feel better about dropping so quick and hard at the end.
Okay, done.
I would say it is difficult, sort of like you said, because obviously FA Cup was a great achievement for them, and I think that could potentially be a really big sort of stepping stone for them becoming not that they aren't already. I don't think you can consider them a top 6 club, mate. Like they are, but not in general. Like generally speaking, I don't think they are considered by like the wider population as sort of a big club in England yet. So it could be sort of definitely a sort of a stepping stone to get there. I was really disappointed to see them slip out of the top 4, and I didn't think they was. I think Morgan, you said that we all had them not slipping out. I was almost fully confident. They, aside from City and United, they were the only ones that I was 100% confident was going to make it. I thought Liverpool were practically out. I thought Chelsea could maybe, slip up towards the end. I wasn't really sure who was going to make it. But then they did. I was looking at their last sort of 3 or 4 games. They did have a difficult end to the season. Combining that with the FA Cup final, they had United, then Chelsea, then Spurs, I think. And then obviously had the FA Cup in between all of that. So it was always going to be difficult to realistically for them to sort of make a strong case and finishing in top 4. But I think, as I said, FA Cup's a really good achievement, something to build on going forward next season. Hopefully they can do some bits in the summer transfer market. I think Rodgers is the coach to lead them forward long term. He's a fantastic coach. I would absolutely love to see him at Arsenal. I don't think it will happen. Yeah, I don't think it will happen. But I absolutely love Brendan Rodgers. I have a lot of admiration for him, and I think he can lead Leicester to great things. I think top 4 should definitely be a minimum target for next season. And
successful season though. Facts or retracts?
Facts. I'm saying facts because they won the FA Cup, and I think it's going to be a good platform whether they finished in top 4 or not to build on for next season. So facts.
Yeah. Jovan?
Yeah, so just I think the thing is we have to zoom out. Leicester City, I think Dan kind of was touching on this, is they're not a top 6 team. There's absolutely no expectations that they should be in the top 4. I mean, Brendan Rodgers is an amazing
correct what you're saying though. They are a top 6 team. They're not a big 6 team.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Careful,
I don't even. No. You don't understand what I'm saying. Is they're punching above their weight. They look at the budgets. Look at the players they have. They have a manager that is punching above their weight and a team that's punching well above their weight. Again, whatever you call it, top 6, big 6. They are not. They have no right to be in that European places. No right. The fact that they have an amazing manager, all the expectations now change. Just because last season they were in the top 4 for how many days doesn't matter. They slipped out. This year they had the same thing. They slipped out. But guess what? This is what I think for a club like Leicester, that really are not a team that's going to be successful in Champions League, because you look at their obviously the games that they played against the top 4 or whatever you want to call the top 4 this season. What I'm trying to say here is that they won a cup. Something that a lot of teams, like my team potentially, we would have taken. They won a cup, the FA Cup, which is a great tournament. I think you have to respect. And also, the second time, they're now in a competition that will give them a real shot at being successful. The Europa League for them is the competition that they should be successful in. They have no right. There should be no expectation that they go and finish in the top 4 every year, given the massive amount of money that's being spent by big clubs. Given the players that are coming in, I think we're not understanding what this club is doing, and whether they finish 4th or 5th. I know the only thing you could say, if you ask any Leicester fan, they'll be happy because they understand. They're like, you know what? They know what their club is. They didn't just start watching their club 2 years ago. They know what Leicester City is. And when I look at it, I think, well, you know what? They're doing a really good job now. Hopefully they can. I think for the biggest thing, whether they finish 1st or 2nd or 3rd, the most important thing for that club is they keep Brendan Rodgers, which I think they should. And as long as they have a manager like that, they'll continue to grow and potentially, there's a ceiling for a club like that, unless you're going to put so much money. But I think Leicester showed a good overall good season. Next year, they'll have Europa League, which is still going to maybe offer a very busy schedule. But these games will be competitive games that they potentially can still play, can still use the bench and kind of rotate the squad and be successful. You can be, because you're playing some teams that potentially you should be able to beat with your second team. So in my opinion, it's not a bad thing. Really, the only thing that's a bad thing is that they miss out among 20 million quid. That the difference is. So that's one thing you could argue, which is true. But at the end of the day, they won a cup, something that a lot of teams do not have after the season, especially after Man City cleared the shelf for a lot of it. So, I mean, in my opinion, it's a very successful team. Not just a successful, very, very successful team.
Yeah, and I think everyone should try and capture this moment because I'm about to say some shocking words, which is I agree with everything Jovan just said. Complete facts. There's not much I need to add either. As Jovan said, I think if you finish 5th with the FA Cup or you finish 4th without it, that's a successful season. I think if you did both, that's just a ridiculously phenomenal season, especially given the type of team they are. This is what teams like Man United, once upon a time Arsenal, would expect, which is a top 4 finish and compete for a trophy. But Leicester have done it, and I think an important thing to think about, or an important stat to look at, is spend per point. So essentially, how much are you spending for each point that you get? That's a real sign of whether you're over or underachieving, because that's how much money you're pulling in, how much you're getting out. So if you look at a team like Leicester, you look at a team like Leeds, who Bielsa, the team he played on the final day in the Premier League, pretty much the same squad as he played on his first ever game in the Championship at home to Stoke City. So you have to take that into consideration. These things are important when you think about, because money. Look what money's done for Man City, a club like Man City. That's why you have to put it in perspective. How much are you spending? What's your net spend for each point that you're getting? So Leicester would be right at the top of the table, up there. If you're in the top 5, you're doing very well. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. Definitely facts. Successful season for Leicester. They should be happy. And as Jovan said, you're not going to compete in the Champions League. Even if you get through to the knockout, you're not going to get too far. At least you're in a competition where you can build and you can now get players in and say to players, listen, we're in European football here. We're in the second best European competition in the world. So that's enough to get players to come in, increase the quality of your squad, and actually compete in that competition that they could go and win. And to build on, to then try and compete in the Champions League moving forward. So yeah, definitely a successful season. So let's move on. Let's go to West Ham now. Obviously finishing 6th. A lot of question marks as to whether they can make in the Champions League. Alex, with it being her team, didn't want that to happen. Her dream has come true. They finished 6th. Perfect finish, really. Bang on in the Europa League. Comfortable going into the final day. So the question is, facts or retract? West Ham were the biggest overachievers this season.
Big question.
Jovan.
Yeah, I mean, there's in the end of the day, if you look at it, that's a tough question that can be argued. But in the end of the day, in terms of where they were last season potentially and what people were expecting from David Moyes' side and what how they started the season also wasn't that great. 6 is amazing for them. I mean, European football for them. Obviously, Lingard kind of worked out. But, yeah, another thing that we don't talk about, kind of like Leicester, similar idea. Big club, you could say, in terms of, fan base and everything around the club. But the fact is they finally made a big club finish after a couple of years now. And, I mean, to answer the question, yeah, I think I would. It's not something I give a really big thought to, but I think they definitely overachieved in terms of where they probably saw, or the majority of people that are kind of in football saw them finishing. So it is. I would say it's a surprise. So I'll retract or whatever the other thing is. I'll basically agree with you with what you just said.
Facts.
That's it.
Yeah, facts. That's the word.
Perfect.
Nice
Fact.
one, mate. So you're saying facts. Alex, your team, what are we thinking?
Mostly because I received so much hate when people were finding out that I was supporting West Ham, and people went as far to joke that they were going to start a GoFundMe page to try and help me find a better squad. And of course, that was earlier in the season when they weren't doing so well. And I just, they did overachieve, and all those people can take that I don't think they actually started a page, but if they had, they could take that money that they raised on that GoFundMe page and buy themselves a ticket to a Europa game next year. So, facts. They were overachievers, and I'm damn happy about it.
Dan.
It's quite. I think it's quite sort of clearly fact. I think. Obviously from sort of where they have been finishing the last as many seasons as I can really remember, they've never really sort of made much noise in terms of league position. And the move to the Olympic Stadium, I don't want to go into it too much, but the move to the Olympic Stadium and that, I think it's almost they were sort of building for this moment where they finish where they are now, and the most important thing for West Ham is to build on this now and start making it West Ham an attractive club to come to for bigger players, and that will obviously improve the quality of their squad and improve their chances of finishing in this place and around in future seasons. But I definitely think they are quite clearly the biggest overachievers this season, and it's definitely a shock to me, but a pleasing shock for sure, because I think they're a nice team, and I think they can build on this definitely going forward. It'll be exciting to see what they do in the next couple of seasons following this, especially in Europe as well.
Yeah,
Morgan. Just before
yes.
just before you go, because I think I know where you're going to go with this, because we're all on the same wavelength, saying West Ham has had one of the best seasons.
That's a big assumption.
Well, no. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I think something we probably should have prefaced.
Here we go.
And now that I'm getting a little bit more ideas. So West Ham last year, 5 points off relegation, 16, that's even worse than I thought. So just getting a little bit more context there. But we're forgetting about the big team, or your big team, Leeds United. There's only one team you could say that.
If you
I'm interested to see what your thoughts are, because I knew you were going to talk about Leeds.
If you let me speak, I am going to say Retract, and I'll tell you why. They're not the biggest overachievers, because indeed my Leeds United finished 9th, which is more than I could have ever dreamed of. First it was like, wow, imagine if we get top half. Then it was like, whoa, imagine if we get 50 points. Then it was like, whoa, hold on a second. We're not far off 7th here. It was absolutely nuts. So West Ham, great recruitment this summer. Well, they got Ben Rama they brought in, they made him permanent. Souček and Kufal from Slavia Prague for 20 mil. Phenomenal. Jesse Lingard, 1.5 million loan fee. Ridiculous. Like Ben Johnson, who they brought up from their youth academy. They've done really great job, because it wasn't too long ago, 18 months ago or something, looking at West Ham and I'm like, they've got to cash out on Rice. They don't have a squad. They've got to hit the reset. They've got to get rid of Rice. They've got to figure it out. Suddenly this season, they've brought players to Rice. They go, you want a team? Here's your team, Declan. Do you know what I mean? And now there's no reason why he wouldn't hang around. If they can get Jesse Lingard secured, Ben Rama's now secured. I do think if they want to keep making that step, I do think they need a striker, and not just relying on Antonio. But he's got a partner in crime now with Souček. They've got a solid defense. They just look really strong. Their goalkeeper's been there for a couple of years now, but he's solid. He's settled in. David Moyes, phenomenal job. And they have an identity. It's so important. They have an identity. You know how they play, and it gets them points. They're good at set pieces and things like that, but it doesn't matter how you win, just matters that you win, and they showed that this season. But with all that being said, let's think about overachieving. They brought in signings. So it's not like they had an empty window and then suddenly, Leeds United, okay, yes, we made a couple signings. Rafinha, great signing. Rodrigo eventually, found his feet. But as I just said to you, to like have this pretty much the same squad from when you got there 2 seasons before when you started the Championship to the Premier League now, 3 seasons on from when you came into the job, and take them to 9th in their first season. Everyone thought Leeds were going to survive relegation, but who actually really, before a ball was kicked, before they really took on Liverpool in that first game, actually thought Leeds were going to finish in the top half? Never mind with 59 points, which, can I remind you, would have got you tied 6th last season. That very likely could have got you in Europa last season. 59 points. And we were the only team to not lose to any of the big 6 at home. And we showed we can defend 0-0s, 1-1s. Great performances. So there's a lot to be looking forward to, but I do think Leeds were the biggest overachievers this season, given that they've just come up. We even got more points than Sheffield United when they obviously had their great season before it all came crumbling down. But hopefully that won't happen to us next season. But we got more points than Sheffield United did that season. So that's saying something. With a squad with a few new signings, but the core was the same identity.
Has Bielsa signed a new contract or no?
Not yet. Remember last season it was pretty much like 24 hours before the first game.
You could be Sheffield United.
No. Okay, a couple things to that. Firstly, Bielsa will sign another deal. 1 year at least, if not 2. Secondly, because of the nature of Bielsa's contracts with Leeds, they're constantly got plan B, plan C ready. Whereas like with Mourinho, I think I said this before, with Mourinho, he just dropped out of nowhere, do you know what I mean? Just vanished. So they had to go, oh shoot, let's get Ryan in. But with us, we've got, I don't even want to know how many different plans they have if Bielsa doesn't stay at Leeds.
One, I want to know how much the Leeds United organization's paying you. And 2, it sounded like you were at like Apple headquarters pitching like the Ted Lasso show concept.
Ooh, is this me or Morgan?
Have you guys seen, I mean, not to sway to that, but that's pretty much the show, right? Like this coach comes out of nowhere and tries to get the best out of their players. So it's maybe Leeds, they're gonna need.
Doesn't he get relegated? He gets relegated.
Yeah, he does. He does. So that's maybe foreshadowing for next year.
Dan, have you seen that?
I've seen it advertised. I haven't seen it. No.
It's true.
But yeah,
no, they're paying me nothing. They pay me blood, sweat, and tears. That's what they
fair.
pay me.
That's how you get the best work out of people sometimes. So
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So, moving on. Everton, obviously, finishing 10th, not ideal, but Everton fans need to be patient. Facts or retract? Okay, I'll take this one first. Not a problem. So, I would say retract. I think 10th is disappointing. It's disappointing given where you were, given how you've played all season. You played like a team who belong in the top 7. But let's just look at where they were when they beat Liverpool 2-0. First time in forever, really, that they won at Anfield. And then they picked up 2 1-0 wins against Southampton, West Brom, expected, lost to Chelsea. And then this is where it went downhill. Burnley at home 2-1. Palace at home 1-1. Brighton away 0-0. Everton Tottenham 2-2, like fair enough. But then you play Villa twice and you get 1 point out of 6. You lose at home to Sheffield United. You know, it's not. That's where the season went. That's the difference. That is what I just read out. Some of those draws, 1 point out of 6, losing at home against Villa, losing at home to Sheffield United. Those are the things that can be the difference between 6th and 7th and 10th. That's it. Simple as. The rest of the season was great. So it's not like Leeds where they played like a team who were 9th place all season. I think that's fair to say. At no point did Leeds look like a team who were top 5 or bottom 5. They always look like a mid-table team. Same with Villa, I would say. Yeah. Southampton played like a team in kind of top half and then the team like near the bottom. But Everton played like a team in top 7 all season and they let it slip at the end. And I think you look at where they are right now, everything's here. Carlo Ancelotti is there. You've now got new signings. James Rodriguez, he is there. Alan is there. These players are all here. Calvin Lewin, you know, in his prime, still for a few more years. It's got to happen now. So I don't think patience is the key here, especially when you've got a team like West Ham finishing 6th. There's no excuse with the way Arsenal and Spurs are right now that you should not have finished 7th at minimum. 10th is not good enough.
What would you change then? That's because
what would I change going forward?
Yeah.
They need to figure out what's going on defensively. Defensively has been their biggest downfall.
That's fair.
For sure. And I think they just need as well like a bit more they play a certain way, but when it's not working, I feel like they struggle with a plan B. I don't know if you feel they have a great identity in the way they play. They've got that midfield three who like to control the game. They've got the wide players. They like their wing backs scaling up the pitch. But I just think that when that isn't working for whatever reason, they don't have the ability to change it up. That's kind of what I felt. So I think more needs to go into prepping next season to be ready. And perhaps a bit more depth. You know, maybe they just ran out of legs towards the end of the season, which if you're trying to play in Europe as well, that's a problem. So perhaps a couple more signings, a bit more depth, but they do have a strong squad.
Yeah.
Jovan? Facts or retract?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would just say retract right away. So they should be, obviously, a team like this should be finishing, obviously, with a manager like Carlo Ancelotti, with the players they brought in, should be finishing in European places. The thing, in a regular season, they probably might have done so. This is the most competitive top 10 in a long, long time. Maybe in my lifetime, in terms of what top 10 means. 7 of the top 10 gets you something that you could say is relatively successful. Again, Conference League for some teams, they don't even think it's good. But the thing is, in terms of points and what really gets you in that top half or even the top 7 or top 4 is so high this year. And in the end of the day, I think they obviously had a relatively weak end to the season where maybe 4 or 5 points could have brought them into Europa League, which is, again, like Leicester, is probably a competition for them where they could make that next step. But no, should you be happy and say it is what it is? It's a competitive league. We should be happy with 10. For a club like Everton, the owners they have there, the manager they have there, and definitely their fans that see the big kind of giant across the road, it's not good enough. That's why patience probably isn't the right word. It is what it is. They move forward, and I'm sure that they'll continue to knock on the door with a manager like who they have and the money that they have as well. A lot of people don't kind of maybe potentially know the extent of the ownership there, but no, I would say not a successful season. Had they won the FA Cup like Leicester did, you would have said it is what it is. Club gets silverware. That's why people.
Well, no, I mean the question is really not just was it a successful season, because I don't think any of us would say it was, but even though it wasn't a successful season, should Everton fans be saying this isn't good enough, or should they err on the side of caution and patience? Really is the question.
So I'll continue with what I was saying. It's not good enough for the fans. It's not good enough for anyone in relation to that club. They won't be happy with what
Gotcha.
the season ended to be.
Alex.
Yeah, I feel like being an Everton fan is like being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Like, you're going to just be patient for your whole life, like, unless something changes. And I don't know, what it needs to be, because you're seeing some of these other teams, like you said earlier, with Leeds, like, you look at each individual player and it's kind of like, and then you see them, come together and be able to pull something off like they did, so what's it going to take for Everton? Like, I don't know. It's like 10th, I guess. Yeah. And like, totally agree. This was a super competitive, top 10. And if it's going to be, I guess you got to find some killer people up top, because so many people, like, teams in this top 10 came down to goal differential and this and that. So, maybe they need to just find someone killer up top so that at least they can get their goals in, and hopefully that'll help them moving forward. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to tell Everton be patient unless something's going to change, because that's just unfair.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Dan?
I'm saying retract as well. I don't think they need to be patient. I kind of look at it. I think all of you probably touch on this to some degree. I think it's pretty clear that Everton are sort of willing to spend the money to compete. They went out and bought James Rodriguez. They went out and bought Alan, as you said. Like, they're not scared to go out and make these sort of, I wouldn't say blockbuster moves. They're not huge names, but they're not afraid to go and spend some money in order to compete.
Godfrey was a good pickup as well.
Exactly, and like even over the past few seasons, and like Moise Keane, but this is what I'm going on to say now, is like they've had some hits in terms of transfers. James Rodriguez had a good start to the season, but the end to the season wasn't really that fantastic. Like he had a good start, and they've just had too many misses on transfers. Like they're spending them like Iwobi. Like come on, how much do they spend on Iwobi? Like 45 million?
No, not quite.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 45 mil. Oh, and rising
34.
to 34 with potential add-ons. Iwobi's not worth 34 million.
Yeah,
And
Arsenal did it right there.
Yeah, Arsenal for once have come up sort of good in the transfer market, but like that Iwobi is an example of a transfer that's missed. But then on the flip side, Moise Kean has gone to PSG and actually done not like bits, he's done fairly decent. So then,
he's on loan, remember? He's coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back, but it's whether he'll stay or not now that he just clearly didn't fit in Everton's style or whatever. But for me, I think the main issue for Everton is the signings. They've as I said, they made good pickups and they've got a lot of potential with Ancelotti. You can't really ask for a better coach. Like they've had some questionable coaches in the past. They obviously had David Moyes, and I think who was a good coach for them. But Ancelotti, they could not be in a better position now, and they've just got to be more direct and more precise with their transfers, because they're spending the money that needs to be spent to clearly compete, but they're just not hitting the target on all of these transfers they're making. So no more patience, just better scouting reports, please, from Everton.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point to make. Like,
yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's hard because part of you wants to say that it's a project. You have something going on with Arteta. Arsenal is not too different. And, you can argue that what you saw for the majority of the season was promising, was good. They started very well. They beat Liverpool at Anfield, which is a massive deal for them. There were positive things to take away. So it's not patience, but it's like, don't just throw the towel in because of where you finished. Look into the season a bit and look how the season went. And it wasn't a terrible season, but yeah, you need more results next season. You need more outcome, for sure. Okay, this is an interesting one. Spurs, Tottenham finishing 7th, playing in the Conference League. I've had many of my friends tell me they're not happy about playing in the Conference League.
How was Forms feeling? How did Forms feel about that?
Look, they got what they could have got. They ran out of options. Well, this was the best case scenario. But being in the Conference League, I mean, what was it like? What country was it? There's a country that don't even have a league, that they just have a cup competition, and the winner of that gets into that Conference League. Liechtenstein, that's the one. So, so I mean, I think a team like Everton or West Ham, Leeds, that could be interesting because you have a shot of winning that, But I think like for a team like Tottenham, it's like especially like the first half of the tournament before you get to the latter stages, like do you play like the under 23s and things like that? So a lot of controversy there. So this is I hope this one's going to spark a bit more of a debate.
Yeah.
So facts or retract? Spurs were right to sack Mourinho when they did.
Oh my god.
Go on, Dan.
I to be honest, I don't really think it mattered either way. I'll be honest. Honestly, I don't think it mattered because it was going downhill anyway, and to leave Ryan Mason in charge of that mess for the last however many games, it was much of a it didn't really matter. They weren't. Mourinho had already, it's a similar thing with Mourinho. Once he's has all these babyish problems with the players or the dressing room or the club in general, I don't think he really gives a shit, to be honest. I think he just sort of, that's it. I'm sort of done here now. I think he knows he's done way before he's actually done. I feel like, I don't know, but that's from what I see. Sort of maybe his attitude plays a bit more of a bigger part in that than. But anyway, I personally don't think it would have made a difference. Is that because I'm an Arsenal fan? A little bit, but actually, fairly speaking, I don't think it made much of a difference. I don't think they would have necessarily finished any higher. I don't think they would have done anything different really. So facts, I guess. Maybe they wanted to give like Ryan Mason a go and sort of see what he was doing, but is he in their plans to be a permanent manager? Almost certainly not. Have fun when Kane leaves, I guess. Like, I don't know what else to say. I just don't know where they go. I honestly I can't see what direction this football club's going in. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alex, step in.
I feel like the decision to sack him when they did is kind of confusing to me. Like, it just kind of shows how disorganized and how, like, not in control of what's happening with their organization is, in my opinion. Like, it just seemed like they were trying to hold out for as long as they could, and then finally they got to this point where it was like, okay, like, we're gonna have all these players jump ship if we don't do something. So they just, like, panic mode got rid of them. Whereas, like, you know, there were talks leading up to this well in advance of people that aren't even seeing the inner workings of, like, should Mourinho be there? Should he leave? Like, this wasn't some, like, random thing that people didn't see coming. Like, everyone saw it coming, and then they waited till the end and kind of just put this interim fill-in coach, and that doesn't give confidence to players about what direction the club is going next year. Like, you have big ticket players on your team, and you need
Massive.
And you have
ticket players.
Like, huge, and you have to allow them to have some confidence in what's going on next year if you want them to stay. Like, especially with, you know, your top, you know, your front three. Two of the three are, you know, you knew we're going to be looking what's out there. Whether they're, you know, renegotiating or they have things going on. Like, you know, we've talked about Bale in the past. Like, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is it a good decision to go? He kind of has to go. And, like, what's Kane going to do? So now you've put these people, like, why am I going to stay in this sinking ship when there's other things out there? So if they were going to get rid of Mourinho, they should have done it earlier so they had time to sort themselves out for the end of the season so people had some kind of confidence. Or they should have waited. Or they should have waited until the end so that when contracts are sorting themselves out, like, people aren't feeling so uncomfortable. But doing it with, like, a last-ditch effort to try and see if you can salvage some of the season is, like, not endgame thinking, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, definitely. It's a hard one to answer because I think Retract, I don't think it was the right time. As you said, like, the moment they did it, like, there was, and it wasn't just about the performances, you know, from what I've heard. There was other factors going into it. There was the Super League stuff that was going on at the time. There was issues between agents and Daniel Levy and Mourinho and playing certain players, but not playing them and then refusing to, like, sell them, like, to keep them on the bench. A lot of these sorts of things. We've seen Dele Alli, Harry Winks. But, I mean, where's your, like, plan B? Like, what's going on here? Like, Nagelsmann? He's a no-go. He's in Bayern Munich, so you're no Bayern Munich. You're no, like, you're not, do you know what I mean? You're not even close to, and Kane, you know, they're trying to get a lot of money for him, but they got a lot of money for Bale. Where did that money go?
In a load of, because that's where that money went.
I haven't seen where that money went. I know they pay it in increments and it's not the right around, but, like, I don't see a player they've signed and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't see a player in the mid. Højbjerg, okay, he's good. He had a good season, but I mean, okay, if you're competing for top 7, good signing. But if you're serious, if you're trying to maintain your Champions League position, that's a different story. So where's your plan B? What manager are you trying to bring in? Scott Parker? Who are you trying to, like? Where? This is what I'm saying though. Like, he's a decent manager, but, like, if you're firing Mourinho, who are you going to bring in that's going to do better? You know, if you make this whole thing, bring him in, maybe try him another season with a new look if you do sell Kane. I just didn't see the need to fire him. It's one thing if you had something lined up, but you clearly didn't because Nagelsmann was your number one option, and that went down the shitter. So I really don't know what the plan is here. And my biggest worry for Tottenham is next season. You talk about a competitive top 10 this season, Jovan. what about next season? Like, you feel like Arsenal's form towards the end of the season, that's only going to get better, right? You look at Everton, they're going to be back with vengeance. West Ham, Leicester, they're going to want to compete for top 4 again. You've got, obviously, the teams that are already there, Liverpool, Chelsea, who are going to have a strong season consistently, you feel, next season. Leeds are coming. Villa are only going to get better. Dean Smith's a phenomenal manager. They made great signings last summer. No reason why they can't make a couple this summer. Wolves are now going to want to come back. This is going to be and not all these teams can finish in the top half. So who knows what will happen over the summer. But right now we're looking at a situation where Spurs may be a bottom half team. Right now. Tell me if it doesn't look that way.
Yes.
No, but honestly,
I would agree with that.
That's the reality.
Problem, like when you try and cover it up with a new kit drop, like that, all I've seen from Spurs fans is like, oh, look at this new kit, look at this new clean jersey. Like that's all you're hearing. Like that's a problem, you know? That's
the kit as well. The kit just this plain, like, come on, like it.
Not to mention you've just moved into a new massive stadium that's meant to be one of the best in Europe. And now we're saying, hold on, this team, will they make the top half next season? That's the conversation. No. Not top 7.
Yeah.
Not top 4. Top half.
Also, as well, you're forgetting that, like, when you were just saying about the quality of the top 10 and all these teams sort of coming in, if Harry Kane does leave, in my personal opinion, I think he'll go to another Premier League club because I think he wants to win the Premier League, facts, and he's never going to do that at Spurs. He's going to have to do his records.
He's chasing a lot of records. He just became the first player to win the assist award, playmaker, I think it's called, Golden Boot as well, since Andy Cole in 93, 94.
Wow. Yeah, and this
Phenomenal.
is the thing. Like, he's going to go to another Premier League team almost certainly if he leaves Spurs. Not only is the race for this top 10 or for top 4 getting even more competitive, their best player, their top striker, is going to be at one of those clubs. I think City personally, but I don't really want to get into that. But that's going to make them even stronger. Tottenham have absolutely zero chance of getting anywhere near the top 4 for the next 5 seasons, in my opinion. Genuinely, I don't even care. Like, Harry Kane is going to be at one of your one of your top 4 contenders. You're
So, two more. Now let's move down the table a bit further. Wolves. Facts or Retract. Major changes are needed at Wolves. We obviously know Nuno is leaving Wolves, and they will have to get a new manager. It's a shame that Jose's moved over to Italy because you feel like that could have been a very interesting fit with the Portuguese aspect. So Wolves, disappointing season, finishing below Newcastle. I mean, no one saw that coming, and obviously that was something that happened on the last day. However, obviously this team had Europe set in their sights. They finished 7th last year. And obviously they really struggled goal scoring without Jimenez. Really struggled. Relying on 18-year-old Fabio Silva a lot of the time. And it wasn't enough, really. Willian Jose, they brought in and try and use him as well. They recalled him from his loan. It was a struggle. So are major changes needed at Wolves? Facts or Retract?
Facts.
I think everyone understands facts.
I'm saying facts, but I was surprised to see Nuno, like, the manager, leave. I think I don't know. I thought Wolves was more of an ongoing project, shall we say? They did have a disappointing season. Raul Jimenez obviously going down so early. Major
well, then why
problems.
are you saying facts? If you're surprised he left, why are you saying facts? Surely, if you're saying facts, part of that major shake-up would be getting a new manager. No.
No, because I think there's some major squad issues in there. Like, I think that's what I was about to go.
What? Name them.
Well, like you look at Adama Traore, I'm looking at 3 goals, 2 assists for Adama Traore. Literally, in 41 games played, Adama Traore had 3 goals and 2 assists. That's terrible. You're talking about him moving to some of these bigger clubs in England and the rest of Europe, and then I know like Ruben Neves, like quality player, don't get me wrong, but 5 goals, 2 assists. He's playing in central midfield. He's starting for
Well,
them.
I said the goal scoring thing is a problem without Jimenez, but also you got to remember that affects someone like Adama Traore, whereby he puts a lot of crosses in the ball. His crossing abilities got better. It's something we talked to Theo Corbeanu about. Jimenez isn't on the other end of those crosses, so that affects obviously
to a
Adama's
certain
assist
extent,
numbers.
yeah.
But obviously he plays wing back some of the time as well, so it's not so easy to score goals from that position. So you got to take that into consideration. And he's not necessarily playing as a winger, so there's a lot of factors you have to take in. But I agree, it's not good enough. He's got the ability to be a 10-goal, 10-assist player in a season. He has that
100%.
ability, no doubt. He's got the power. He's got the strength. His technical ability is getting better. He's still young. He's only, 24? He's not very old.
I think he's 24, yeah.
But yeah, so Jovan, were you saying you agree? Facts.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, whether change needed to be made, yes. Does the manager had to go results-wise? No. However, you look at it and you think, well, Nuno being one of the most...
Okay, so when you say facts to that question, what are you going to shake up?
I mean, things that we potentially don't know, as Dan was saying. I mean, in the squad, there's one thing you change: either a little bit of freshen up the squad and hope that you can be competitive, or if I'm going to ask you a question right now and say, is the problem the manager at Wolves? What would you say? This is a one season where they didn't have a great season. They were never in a relegation battle for say. Would you sack a manager who obviously brought a lot of success to you prior years?
Who knows? But who knows what? Would I sack that manager?
You know,
No.
and I know.
But who knows what happened behind the
exactly.
scenes?
He wasn't sacked. I think he realized.
And Nuno.
That he,
See what I did there.
So I think in the end of the day, you know just as well as anyone else that you wouldn't sack the manager after a season like this. He's a good manager. However, in the end of the day, I think he realized that whatever happened, we have no idea, and we can talk however much we want about what happened. We don't know. However, I mean, it looks like to me he realized this project is basically, he's basically done. I mean, are you gonna bring Wolves into the top 6, 7? Man, we've just been talking about all these teams that should, in theory, it's come on. The thing is, we're talking about all these teams. Someone's has to finish bottom half. At the end of the day, there's so many good teams in this league. I don't think it's ever been as competitive. And in the end, you're gonna have a one bad season, and that's why kind of Everton's in 10th and Villa, after a great season, you were talking them up like crazy. They still in the bottom half. Wolves in the bottom. It is what it is. So, in the end of the day, I think it's going to be very, 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 very interesting to see who they bring in, because I really don't know. Like, from first thinking, I don't know who they could bring in, and that would be, okay, here we go. Here's a manager that can...
Well, this is why I say retract. I'll come to you in a moment, Alex. This is why I say retract, because I don't think it's facts. I don't think they need a major shake-up. Like, yes, they recovered, but look at Liverpool this season after they went and won the league. Like, Wolves, everyone has that, like a little, I guess you can call it a blip. It's an extended blip because it was the whole season. But they've never succeeded in the Premier League without relying on Jimenez to bag the majority of the goals. So when he's not there, and they've never had a backup plan. So it's not like they rotate. You look at Man City, right? I know it's you can't compare the two teams, but I'm just saying, you look at the way they rotate the squad, and if he's not in, then you've got him in, or him, or him, or him. Like, there's so many options. Wolves just had no options going forwards. They just didn't know what to do without Jimenez up there, because he does so much. Not only does he get goals, but he's such a threat. Defenders, even if it means he frees up space for other players, because defenders have to worry about his presence. Whereas when you have Fabio Silva on, who's only 18 years old, William Jose, defenders aren't as worried. So you can pay more attention to players like Adama, players like Ruben Neves. So I think that loss of Jimenez has a bigger impact than people realise. And look, he's been out for a while, so who knows what his form will be like when he comes back. It's very up in the air. But I don't know. I don't think necessarily major changes were needed at Wolves. I think it was just one of those where it's a rough season, and sometimes they just let a bit of bad momentum get the best of them, really. And and they had some shocking performances. You look at them against Burnley, that was just embarrassing. But hopefully this will fuel, put some fuel in their bellies. Let's move on to our final discussion of the day. It's going to be interesting, very open. So the discussion is as follows. You look at those teams around the bottom, obviously the teams got relegated. On that note, before we do this, me and Jovan are having a little argument here that I need you guys to help me settle. Jovan is insisting that because the team who finished 17th had 39 points, that is what you needed to stay safe. Whereas I said all season long it will be 30, and Fulham got 28 points. Therefore, mathematically, 29 points.
So if
because the three teams. Go on. Sorry, go on.
This is how I see it. So you guys might, because I'm not even sure. I'm 95% sure, but I'm not sure. So, when Morgan says it, I'm even more sure. However, if Fulham had 38 points, you guys answer the question. Would they be safe? Yes or no? No. So if Fulham had 37 points, would they be safe? If Sheffield United had 37 points, would they be safe? No. So my thing is, you could look at it both ways. But really, if you're in the bottom three, you have to get at least 39 points to even be safe. That's my thought. And that's why it makes, Fulham was far off. Everyone was far off. But my opinion, that 39 points is that thing you have to jump above.
Nonsense. Burnley had 39 points. Dan, answer this question. Don't give me that face. Answer this question, Dan. If Burnley, they had 39 points. Fulham had 28. Therefore, if Burnley had 29 points, would they have been safe?
But they didn't. The thing is, they didn't. They have 39. That's the number that you had to get to.
If we're going technically speaking, then yes, Morgan, you are correct. But this is like a hypothetical world. So if we're
no, it's not. It's a massive thing because all season. Oh, this is not a joke. All season, I was saying, 30 points will keep you safe. Mathematically speaking, 30 points this season would have kept you safe.
They wouldn't be safe. No, if Fulham had 30 points, they wouldn't be safe.
Yeah, because they're the team in the relegation.
Exactly. That's
the amount of points needed to be safe is set by the relegation, not by the team in 17.
No, the team above sets the bar for the amount of points the relegation teams would have to achieve. So that makes sense.
No. The teams in the relegation set the bar that you have to be above to stay up.
No, that makes zero sense. That makes zero sense.
How does that make zero sense?
But Alex said you could
30 points.
You know what makes zero sense? Letting people rob stores for a day. That's what doesn't make sense. So I don't even know why I'm listening to you.
Let's go back here.
Alex.
Very weak. That's a weak argument to make about the robbing stores. That's the troll.
It was a low blow. It's a low blow. But
30 points and you're safe. Is that correct? This is what you're saying here. Or are you saying 29 points keep you safe? Well, so you're telling me right now, if Fulham won on the last day of the season, they'd be safe. No. It's the bar you need to jump over. That's why it's so high this year.
It's 39.
The thing is, the tricky thing is okay, Morgan, if we are end of the season, we're doing our wrap up, and we can say, yes, like you needed 29 points to be safe, fair, but we can't look at that in terms of teams looking to see if they're going to be safe. You have to watch the 17th team if you want to, throughout the season, if you want to see if you're going to be safe. But at the end, when we're doing a wrap-up, you can say, yeah, mathematically, you only needed 29 to be safe. And you can do that as an afterthought.
Well, that's what I was saying the whole time.
But during the season, you can't base your points on Team 18. You got to base it on Team 17. And I think, Dan, you were kind of saying that, right?
Yeah, the way I look at it is, you see okay, that was a good point, because the season wrap up, you look at the table. The league table is the league table after 38 games, right? Fulham have 28 points, Burnley have 39. You can't categorically say 29 points would have kept you up, because if Fulham had 29 points, they would still be in the Championship. So you can't say that. It's 39 points is that bar.
We need to.
But we're looking at the final Premier League table. That's the way I see it.
So on Sky Sports, they go, oh, Fulham 5 points off relegation, 5 points, all this stuff. They don't say Fulham is 28 points. Let's hope that Burnley somehow get a points deduction of 9 points and they'll still be in. It's not about that. It's they say 5 points off relegation, 10 points off relegation. Well, win in some. It's simple, man. And what I'm saying is this goes.
Okay, well, when I've said 30 points will keep you up, that just means what does 17th have to get to survive? That was my whole point, and the answer is 29 points. That's what I was always saying. That's what I'm trying to explain. I get what you're saying as well. Makes sense. But I've just been saying the whole season, what will keep you up? What do you need to get to be in the Premier League? 29 points.
Bar low, and then you'll never be disappointed. So, you know, we can look at it and say, Burnley, according to Morgan's predictions, had a extremely successful season because they got, 10 more points than they needed.
But that's what I mean.
Well,
you can't look at it like that.
This is a perfect transition, though. This is a perfect transition, though. We're about to get into the final debate topic. This is perfect. Okay, listen up. This is it. So, facts or retract, and you can bring any team into it, I guess, from like the bottom half. Facts or retract. Southampton, out of all those teams around there, Southampton fans should be the happiest. Obviously, given the fact that the second half of the season was a disaster, a lot of injuries, etc., etc., Southampton fans should be the happiest, sitting in 15th, 43 points. Facts or retract?
Yeah, retract. No one's for say. Obviously, like Southampton's not happy with where they finished. I remember the beginning of the season, the first half. I would say even they were playing some good football. They're actually playing some like actual good football, and they got some decent results. Obviously, they had some also shocker results. They're not going to be happy when they finish 15th. In the end of the day, they're also a team that you look at the beginning of the season and say they're not really fighting relegation per se. They were in theory, but they weren't a team that was expected to be in that battle. When I look at teams that should be relatively happy that they're still alive, potentially it's a Brighton. Brighton this season, whether they played like how Morgan says amazing football or not, they in the end they got some key results at the end of the season. Never really got going at any point. I don't think. Burnley are always overachieving. As long as they're in this league, they're always overachieving with Sean Dyche and the whole team. So those teams should be happy.
It's true. No, it's true. It's true.
So that's my thoughts. I mean, Southampton.
So that's just
they're just annoying because they hang around. They just fill a gap. They fill a spot in the Prem.
But there's something that you like in that team. There's something like that English fighting mentality.
No one gets excited when Burnley are on.
It does not make me want to get up at 7 a.m.
Just because they don't have all these players.
Whereas Leeds, you get up at 7 a.m. to watch Leeds.
Possibly,
Definitely.
Maybe.
You're just fans. Dan, you don't even need to get up at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's true.
Retract. So who then? If you say retract, you have to give an alternative answer.
Yeah, and you're gonna love me, Newcastle.
Fans should be happy. Yeah. That's
How?
Of course.
Who would have guessed 12th place? Like,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, but I didn't see it coming.
Yeah,
I'm not happy about it. Well, they jumped a lot of places on the final day. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was one of those. But
Joe Willock.
And they should be really happy how it played out.
Explosive finish. I mean, very, impressive, but it shows how important Wilson and St. Maximin are because they both come back into the squad. It's like looking at a different team. Joe Willock went on a good run. I'm still not convinced about his just because he had a good run of 7 goals, 7 games. I don't think that means he's now a phenomenal player. I still think Arsenal should cash out if an offer with a 2 comes their way at the beginning. So, yeah, I'd agree with Alex that it's got to be Newcastle, but I still stand by my point. Looking at the competition next season, I'm not going to say Brighton are going to be a top half team, but Brighton had a -6 goal difference. That tells you something. And the teams around them, -22, -26, -21, -25. minus 16 even Newcastle, minus 16 Wolves. Brighton have minus 6 goal difference. That tells you that when they're winning, they're winning somewhat. When they lose, they always lose by 1 goal. Or draws. They had a lot of draws this season. 14 draws. That's a lot. So, my point with Brighton is there's a lot of promise there in terms of the way they play. Yes, it wasn't coming out in results all season long, really. But there's a lot of promise there. You saw the same thing with Villa, though. Like, they put in some good performances, but they just weren't getting the results last season. Well, when you turn performances into results, look what happened to Villa this season. And I just see the same happening for Brighton if the summer goes well for them. That means holding on to players. That means bringing in some new big signings. Not necessarily names, but like people who are going to make a difference on the pitch, like West Ham did as well this year. A goal scorer, oh my god. A goal scorer, hands down. Because that would have changed the season for them. They need 100%. A goal scorer. Their defence looks good. Ben White made the England squad. That's promising. So, yeah, I think Newcastle, obviously, the way things turned out, the way they finished. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be great next season. I don't buy that. But I think Brighton have a lot to look forward to. So I think, 16th's not ideal, but there's a lot to look forward to there. Yeah, I think we're gonna drop a TFF breaking when the Euro squad's announced Tuesday, 1st of June. We're hoping to get me, Dan, and also Leo on, who none of you really know because he's never really been in front of the camera. So we'll try to get him in front of the camera. That would be great. But yeah, this has been another episode of the Footy Forum. We hope you enjoy. Plenty to come from Phase 3. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, DM us, let us know what you're thinking. We've got plenty more coming as well from the Female Footy Forum that Alex is working on. And as I said, plenty new, interesting video content coming. We're going to drop some bonus clips from this episode as well. So if you're listening on audio, make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well and check us out. And yeah, plenty more to come from TFF. So we hope that you're well. And yeah, until next time, all the best. Take care.
Peace.
So.